Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 10 here in the Happy Abode. Can you believe we're at 10 episodes already? We're 480 cycles in because I am really slow at playing this game. Today, we are just checking in on our duplicates over here at the Bionic asteroid. I added the mod that allows me to change the name of asteroids, by the way, because I was tired of not being able to pronounce the asteroids. So I have our main asteroid and our Bionic asteroid. I couldn't think of anything fancy for our main asteroid. If anybody thinks of something fancy, drop a comment, and if I like it, maybe I'll use it. You might notice that our duplicates are running around a little bit more spry. That's because I installed a lubrication station. This allows us to use crude oil to keep our duplicates parts running smoothly. So now all of our duplicates have no grinding gears anymore. And even though they had some debuffs on that because of the choices I made here, or reductions, I mean, they were only getting 50% of it. Still nice to have them with their full athletics and no stress from the grinding gears. So everything's going good over here. Just checking in on how this is working. You'll see it's very hot in here, but that's by design. With a hot industrial brick like this one, the idea is that all the heat from our refineries, from our rock crusher, from the kilns, from the aqua tuner, from the coolant running through here, dropping off heat into the system, it is all absorbed into the steam through this metal plate. The metal tiles are just there because cobalt's the best conductor I have, and so it allows the heat to transfer into the steam, and vice versa. It just equals out, and it's because the steam and the gases won't mix together pretty good. But then the temperatures from the steam, if it goes above 125, it gets pulled into the steam turbines, it creates power, and then it comes back in the form of cool water, 95 degrees, dropping back in. So we need to keep an eye on this just to make sure the heat doesn't get too high and that these two steam turbines can't keep up with it. But so far, unless we add extra heat to this, I think it's fine. Been running for a while, and we're at 150 degrees up here in the top. The hottest thing in the room right now is the coolant inside this loop, because it's not able to dump off all of its heat because of the small loops that I have in here. But it's okay. It'll be fine. If it starts to get too bad, we will address it. But for now, I think it's fine. Our metal refineries are all the way down to... where's the temperature on that? 184 degrees, and they can go all the way up to 275 before they overheat. Everything in here should be able to go to 275 because it's either steel or ceramic that we built it out of. Actually, this one is built out of iron ore. I should fix that, but I'll wait until I have an overheat problem. The heats down here are not even as high, so we'll get there. We'll deal with it. Today, we're not going to be working on this colony. I have a lot of stuff I still need to do here. A lot of things that are, high priority issues, but it's stable. Oh, also, I shut off the oil. I moved the sensor down lower because I was worried that if we keep pumping oil in up here higher from these, then it's going to end up causing pressure issues, and I don't want to have any gas issues. So this is plenty of a tank. If I need more, I can always clean this up and make the tank larger this way. But we have plenty of oil to use. We haven't even started doing anything with it other than circulating that heat, which is still working fine. This base is starting to warm up, which is fine. That's what we want. We're melting out all the ice and everything like that. Today, we're going to be working on the main colony, on our main asteroid, and that's because we have some problems here that are... There's two problems that are working hand in hand that we can fix the same way. It's all to do with temperature. We have crazy temperatures around here. We have a little bit of cooling here because we have this loop that is coming through, and it's bringing the temperature up here, and it's heating up the water in the cool salt slush geyser and the cool slush geyser. It's also picking up some heat from the cool steam vent as soon as that goes active in 12 more cycles. These actually, this one just went active. This one is going to go active after this one. So this one goes on, then this one, then this one. So that's absorbing some of the heat down here from our power, but there's heat here, but everything else is cold. and it's causing us issues. Our crops aren't growing. We're living off of the barbecue, which is fine, but like the base is not in a stable temperature state at all. And our thimble reed's not growing, so eventually if we run out of reed fiber, our Atmos suits will fail. A lot of problems from temperatures. The other thing is that when we do have food that we're producing, we're losing it. So if we look at here, you can see calorie generation. The net calorie generation is very low. And that's because we lost 5,000 calories to rot. We lost 15,000 calories to rot. We lost 11,000 calories to rot. And it's the same every day. That's because we don't have any storage for our food that is safe. We don't even have it in sterile, which is not great. So what we're going to do, over here I made some space. We're going to put in a coolant system, and we're going to do it with the tech that we have. I brought over steel, plastic, and ceramic. I need to get some cobalt so that we can use that, because cobalt's the most conductive metal I have right now. Aluminum would be better, but I don't have it. But we do have cobalt on the second asteroid. We just need to get it brought over to the main asteroid and get it refined. So once we do that, we're going to build a system here. It's going to be a all-in-one system. It's going to have two loops, one that keeps the base at about 23 degrees, which is where the crops need to be to grow. And the other one is going to keep a blast chiller for our food at minus 20 degrees so that our food stays nice and chilly. The only other thing I need other than the cobalt is ethanol. And I really wish I had not taken all the ethanol and ran it through the petroleum generators just to get rid of it. At the time, I wasn't thinking about the fact that it's probably the best coolant I have for this purpose right now. I could use petroleum for it, because petroleum would work. Let me see if do I have any petroleum sitting around so I can look at the stats real easy. I do. So petroleum goes down to minus 57. It can go up to 538. So we could use that, but it's not super great with its stats as far as the specific heat capacity and other things like that. The ethanol, on the other hand, and I brought it over here, is, let's see, can I look at ethanol in here without too much trouble? Ethanol, there we go. Ethanol goes down to minus 114 and it goes up to 78. So we don't want to boil it. It'll turn to gas, but for our purposes, it'll work great. And if you look at its specific heat capacity, it's much higher, and thermal conductivity is good. So like this is a pretty decent coolant until you get super coolant. So I set up a loop over here that filtered out the ethanol from that I had left, just this little bit over here, and ran it across. And now we have all of our ethanol in this tank here. So we have access to it in a bottle filler. So now we're going to use that for a coolant loop. And we're going to build a blast chiller here. So I'm going to get everything laid out because I'm going to make it as like an extension from our dining hall here so that we have a kitchen that produces all the food and makes it easy for our duplicants to grab food when it's time for them to eat dinner. I needed cobalt for our thing, our blast chiller, and I didn't want to use the rock crusher to make it because I don't have a ton of cobalt ore. I mean, I literally have 47 ton cobalt ore, but I don't have enough that I want to just waste it. And this rock crusher, when you make it, you lose half of it. So I extended out this area, put in a third steam turbine, which should help with the temperatures anyway. And I added in a metal refinery just for cobalt. So we are making cobalt here from cobalt ore, and this is set to store 1 ton of it, and then the rest of it we are sending through this to get to the other side. So we got to go down to refined metal and turn cobalt on. This is set at priority 6. This is set at priority 7, which means the cobalt will stay here till it's full, and then any extra cobalt that this makes will get sent over to our main colony. So we just need to fill this up, and then we'll get cobalt over at our main asteroid. I'm also working on digging out this area just to expand it some. That way we have a little more space down here to put some more things. This is actually getting pretty nice. I might actually just make this my industrial block for a while because it's working good. It was going to be a temporary thing, but sometimes temporary things work out good enough that you might keep them around. So we'll see. I'm also thinking of some different ideas for this, so we might change that up. We'll see what happens. Anyway, back to here. I'm still working on digging things out down here just to get the all the base kind of cleaned up, just all this material dug out. But I want to start building here. So basic idea of how this is going to work is there'll be a couple of loops here. And I'm just trying to think how I want to build this. We're going to have two little sections here that are filled with ethanol. And then above that, we'll have doors that transfer heat from metal tiles that are on the bottom of a room that is also filled with, we'll have doors that are connected to a metal tile row and that is at the bottom of a steam chamber, but it'll be separated by insulated tiles, and then we'll have a loop that goes through and cools the metal tile. So the metal tiles will be, let's just pause this for a second. So we'll have metal tiles here. We'll have doors like this, and then we'll have a row of metal tiles here. We'll have a loop that goes through and cools this one, and then we'll have loops that go through here, picking up the cool from here. That will allow us to put in automation for thermosensors to connect up from here to these doors. And basically we can let it transfer chill from this metal plate, which will always be cold, into the liquid here if this picks up enough temperature that needs to be cold. And that means that we'll have one really cold plate here that is run by a steam turbine, and then this one will set to minus 18 or minus 20, whatever we want to set it at, and it will go down very short to where we put our blast chiller down in this room, and this loop will go through and run through the whole base and keep it at 23 degrees. And so we'll just have one loop that's cooling with two different temperatures is the idea. So and let me put this metal tile, get rid of these so that we can just get in here to build. And I want to also, I'm going to cancel the metal tiles up here because they're not the right metal. These are also not right. So okay, let's do that. You know, I'm just going to cancel the whole thing and I will rebuild it correctly because I didn't make it out of the right materials. But that gives you an idea of what we're going to build here. Just going to take me a little bit of time to get everything laid out and started to build. And we can also put down pitcher pumps here to drop off the ethanol from our vat over here. The only thing we need ethanol for is to fill these pools up. And then we also need one for the loop that is going to be for chilling down our blast chiller. The loop that goes to the base we can do with polluted water because we're doing 23 degrees. So polluted water is the perfect coolant for keeping it at that temperature. Now that I have some of the items in place, we can kind of see how this is going to work. I'm still waiting to get this filled with water so that I can cap it off with our steam turbine that will keep this cool. But this is the layout we're doing here. So I have an ethanol loop going through here, and it has some cobalt piping that is in here and in here, and that allows it to pick up the chill from here, transfer it down here, cool down the tile and the space in here, and keep that loop going. And it's a small loop, so it will be pretty efficient at cooling down this spot. This one, for right now, I just have it connected to the loop I already have going that's going through here and up to the top. We'll fix that after we get everything else finished and make it so that that loop goes around the whole base and starts cooling down everything. The thermosensors in here are set. So this one is at 23, this one's at minus 20. We may need to adjust them a little bit, but what they do is when the temperature is higher than that, it closes the door to bring chill in. The loop up here, I need to figure out exactly how I'm going to finish this loop. So it's going to go through here, it's going to cool down the steam turbine. It's also going to come through here. Let me think of the best way to do this. May have to do a little bit different. because I want it to come down. I want the coolant to come through here, come through here. Okay, so what we'll do is... I didn't think of that. I was kind of finishing this loop off like I normally would. I need to have this one go through. The only thing I'm going to actually do is... thinking maybe I could put in another aquatuner in here so that we have one separate. I don't think that's necessary. I think that this cooling down the steam turbine will be fine for this and this. It's not going to be a huge amount to handle. So let's do... We'll have this come through. We'll probably have to crack back in here to get this to work just the way I want it to. But we can have it so that it will come down this way. And then we can come up this way and go that way instead of going through here. Now we can get to all that without having any problems coming in. Yeah, because we'll just be able to build this from this side. And we're going to have this come through here. It'll cool down here right after it comes out of the aquatuner. It'll come up here. And then we will have this come to the top and come back around and go like this. Autosave always comes when I don't want it to. So we're going to disconnect all these so I can run this correctly. We're going to not have these two here. That's not necessary. And then we're going to have the radiant loop come from here and go up. Actually, let's go this way and that way. So then go like this. So the loop will be... comes from the aquatuner. It comes down here. The cold from it goes immediately through here. It comes back up around. And then it comes down and it cools off the steam turbine. And then it comes back down, and if it's above, we're going to make this... ethanol can go down to... we'll just make it minus 50 for now. The ethanol can go down pretty cold, and we're going to fill this with ethanol. That'll mean that it can go through, and it'll chill off again. It will cool down this even more, and it'll keep the steam turbine cool. And this is not going to have a ton of cooling to do, so I think that this will work just fine. They'll be able to reach all that. This has enough water in now, so we can get rid of this. And we'll cap this off, put a steam turbine on it, and then worry about getting the power from that connected up to our grid. We're probably going to be moving our power grid into this area that I've made empty. So for now, we'll just run a line. It'll be kind of ugly, but we'll get it sorted later. I'm going to turn him directly into barbecue because... A, I really need the food right now, and B, he is going to cause me issues if I don't. So now all we need to do is cap this off, get our steam turbine. We're going to make it out of steel and plastic, and we're going to put this on here, like that, and then we're going to do a loop or a drain down from here. Oh, actually, I need to keep this undone, the tile, because I still need to get the steel vent put in place. But then once that's done and we cap it off, this will be fine. We can work on a power line from here. And I think I'm just going to do a power line that goes... let me think about the best way to do that. So we have to go from there to connect into here. I think if I did... I don't want to go right through here just to make it connect, but I think that will be kind of ugly. Let's do... I'll think about the power off camera when I can work around going through everything, and we'll just get this finished. If this isn't connected to the power grid, we'll just be losing the power, so it'll still work until I get that sorted out, and it will be fine. So I'm going to just make this all high priority. We'll get this built, and then we'll fire it up and see how it works. Things are starting to get fired up here. I have filled our loop with ethanol so that the coolant is working. I'm working down here to get set up to build our refrigeration area. So I put in a door here that's right next to the dining hall. The duplicants can get through to... they can get through to put... to get to where the food will be. And in this room, what I did... this is a little trick that I like to do to make this easier. Because what we need in this tile is we need to seal this off, and we need it to have chlorine gas in it. So I brought over a storage bin and brought bleach stone in, and then I dropped the bleach stone on the floor. It was just a little bit of it, but it was enough that it created a chlorine tile there. So there's chlorine gas, and since chlorine's heavier, it can't get forced out of there. And now we can take an insulated tile and just cap it off. And we'll do that high priority just so we can see it get done. And that means that that'll seal this little space off so that nobody can get in here. Our duplicants won't be able to access it. And this room it'll have a cobalt tile, it'll have chlorine gas in it, and it'll be insulated around it on the sides, which means that we can chill this spot down to below minus 18 degrees. And in order to get the food items out of there, once we put them in, I have a conveyor chute to drop them off. We have this sweeper, and as you can see, the auto sweeper can reach into this tile, and it can reach all of these tiles. So now, if I put a food receptacle, we're going to do a refrigerator, do a purple one, just to make it interesting. We're going to put that there. We'll be able to set the type of food we want. We'll put a small amount of it in there. And that way, when the food is in here and it's ready to be put into our refrigerator for our duplicants to grab, then they can pull it out. But it'll be stored. So let's check the coolant loops and see how they're doing. This one going through is now down to minus 15 degrees. It's still cooling down, which means that our temperatures here this is getting very cold. This room is staying where it is because the ethanol in there is already lower than the temperature that we want it to be. So eventually this will get raised up because we're going to be picking up heat, and this will get to 23 degrees. And then once it goes above that, it'll close this door and it'll pull some chill across and chill down this ethanol. And then that can start cooling down our loop. On this side, however, this door is closed because this ethanol is above the minus 20 mark that we want. And that means this loop is coming through and it's picking up the chill, but it's not quite cold enough yet. As this continues to cool down, this cools down, and that's bringing cool air down here. So we can see that chlorine, it's minus 2, and it's continuing to drop. So if we can keep doing that until it's under minus 18, then any food we put in here, because it's in a sterile gas and it's under minus 18 degrees, it will instantly become deep frozen, which means that we'll be able to store the food indefinitely. And like I said, we'll be able to just pull out a small amount of it, put it in here so that we can grab it. We can put multiple different refrigerators in here to pull out a small amount. So what we would do, for example, is let's do 2 kilograms and we'll do barbecue. That means this, when it has access to it here, it will have barbecue. And if you notice, there's a space on this side for a gap as well. So what we're going to do is come across this way. I'm going to put another auto sweeper, and on this side it's going to be able to access from here. So when we look at it, it can access here, and it can reach all the way over here. So what we'll do is we'll have the food get dropped in here. So the meat from our farm here will get shipped over here and dropped into here. This auto sweeper will grab the meat and put it into our electric grill. I'm going to put 2 of them in here. And that means that, actually, let's just do 1 for now. That means that this will grab any meat, it'll put it in the electric grill. Our duplicant will be able to come in here and cook the food. And then the last thing we need to do is put in a conveyor loader. We're going to put it right there. And we're going to have it so that that goes to here. And this is going to be able to load up any other ingredients here that we need. So basically the way it works is we'll have the meat dropped off in here. This will make barbecue. And then this, once it's built, we will set this to pick up barbecue and drop it off into here. This one's... Actually, no, let's move this over because we don't want that to be able to access it. It'll just be simpler if it's 1 over. But that'll mean that this one won't be able to be accessed by this. So it'll pull barbecue out of here, put it in here, but it won't put it back into here to go into storage. And then when we have all of our food ingredients coming over here, we can connect from here and set up a conveyor loader to pick up meat, put it in here. We can have it so meal ice is put inside here, and then we could also set up our micro musher to make our food from that. So we just need to get power set up to that. We need this to continue to cool down. You can see it's already down to minus 18 degrees. That's how quickly it works with that small coolant loop. And all we needed was just one aqua tuner cooling things down. The water in here isn't even hot enough to turn to steam yet, but when it does, the steam turbine will keep cooling it down, and we will have a deep freezer. Still has some cleanup work to do. Get a last few things put in place. I have a ending pipe here, but basically I'm setting up so I have water flowing over this way. Put the water next to the microbe musher to make this work more efficiently, so they don't have to keep running back and forth to bring water. They can just grab it from here. I set up several different auto sweepers, as you can see, and the reason for that is this one is able to see this spot and any of these. This one is able to see this spot and any of this stuff. This one can't see in here, but it can see the spot where the food drops from the microbe musher and the electric grill, which means that any food that's made there, this can pick it up and put it in here. So I have barbecue and meat, meal ice, and lice loaf set to go in here. That way it'll get put in here, it'll get put into our cold storage, and then this one will put it where we need it to go. So this I'm going to set for 2 kilograms because right now I have it at too high, but we'll have 2 kilograms of lice loaf in there, we'll have 2 kilograms of barbecue in here. Everything else will stay in cold storage, and that way our duplicants can grab it, but it will stay in here. This is also set to allow manual use, so for right now, whenever we get meat and other ingredients out here in the map, our duplicants can just grab it and bring it in and put it into the cold storage. Eventually we want to set up so that these are centralized, so like we'll put a conveyor loader here to ship meat off directly into storage. That way it's not sitting at ever, and we don't have to have a duplicant that moves it. But for right now, while we're finishing this up, having them bring it over works just fine. The loop that we're doing as far as this coolant is working great. This one, I took this loop and I cut it off from the cold water up here because it was staying cold. Now I've gotten it up to 32 degrees. I want to see if this is going to be enough to cool it back down to the 23 or not. We're not going to have this heat source hooked up to it, but in fact, let's fix that now. I just wanted to get that line to be hot enough that we could do this. So we're going to disconnect this here and here, and then we'll connect this here. So this loop will just be a closed loop between the hot water in here and the cold water up here. We're not going to actively cool that. It'll just be cooled by these two will cool down this hot water. This loop will be the base loop, and we'll end up moving it around. For now, it is just going down through here, and it's picking up the heat here. I want to see if it's going to be effective enough to take this hot loop and cool it down to the 23 degrees that we want it to be. So if we're looking here, we have 37 degree water coming in, and it's coming out, and it's still 34 degrees. So it's not picking up a lot of chill, but over time, it should handle what we need to do, because it's not going to be cooling anything super hot, because this power system is going to be moved. It's just going to be cooling down what's inside the base and keeping it at a steady temperature. So the next thing I need to do is work on getting this pipe so that it goes over here through our crops, so that we can actually that pipe there is old, so we can actually just ignore it. So I'm going to have it come over like this. Trying to think of the best way to run this, but this basically it'll come down through here. We'll have one go through this way. We'll come back up. We'll go through here. We'll come back up. We'll go through here, and then we're going to go around the base. And I hate when that happens. We'll go around the base up this way, and we'll take it right around the inside come back down. We'll bring it through here. And we'll put a loop on this. And that means we can then come through here and come back to here, and we'll go down this way. I'm going to put down some tiles here so that we don't accidentally lock ourselves out of that pit room. So if all that gets built, we can disconnect this here and here. And we also need to put in a bridge on this side. That means that once we connect this, it will be coming through this way. Oh, I have these back. Fix that quick. So we want the flow to follow along the way it's going. It'll go this way, and then it'll come over here, and it'll go this way. So the flow is going to come in this way to here. It'll go up here. It'll go around this. It'll go up here, around here, down here, through the crops, and then to here. Disconnect this and actually deconstruct these lines just to make it cleaner for us. Oh, that's the line to our things. We still have tons of oxygen and hydrogen in here, so we're not worried about that for the moment. We'll rerun that line afterwards. But after it comes through here, it'll connect back here and it'll go back through the loop, which means that we'll be able to have that loop going through the whole base. The last thing we need to do to finish it up is I need to get polluted water onto it. I don't have a lot of polluted water right now. This is active now. So if we do, where is the loop coming? It's coming up here. So what I'm going to do is I'll put a bridge here, and I'll bridge on like this, connect these, and I'll disconnect this for the moment. So when polluted water comes out, it'll come down through here, it'll bridge onto this coolant line and get it full, and then we can reconnect that and let the polluted water flow out. So we just need to let it finish the construction, and then we need to get it filled with polluted water, and then we will see how effective that cooling is. And you can see it's closing the door so that it can cool this room down. This ethanol is staying where it is. The question is this going to be effective as much as I thought it will and that it did in my testing to make sure that it keeps this base chilled? And I think that it will, because even though it's a very small area, there's not a lot of heating or cooling that it's doing. There's going to be a little bit of heat that increases over time, but mostly it's just regulating a temperature that's going to be pretty stable. And the things in here that do generate heat, we'll move them to a place that has more active cooling for them. In fact, this one we're not even using anymore. We can just get rid of it for now. The exosuit forge will give off heat, but it's not a lot. This part is probably the hottest thing we have in here, and we'll see if we need to move that somewhere else or put in an active cooling for that. But like I said, we just need to get everything built and get this coolant line filled up, and we'll see how well it works. And this is kind of temporary too, because eventually we'll have super coolant, and then we'll be able to do this much, much more effectively. But this should allow us to get the temperatures in here a little more regulated and get our crops growing again. As far as the cooling loop goes, it's got a while to go before it's going to do what we want it to do. I put a couple of spot radiant pipes to help with the cooling in the colder areas, but just the regular pipes will eventually do what we want it to do. Down here I did radiant pipes for the entire run of the crops, and you can see they're all growing again, which is great. Working exactly as intended. And here I put in a conveyor loader for our meat, which means our meat is going to get directly dumped in here. You can see from a couple of things that our system is working. We have our food in here where we have 2 kilograms of lice loaf ready to go, and duplicants come and grab it when they need it. I think I might want to increase that. We often have 4 people on a schedule at a time most of the days, which means we're going to have 4 people that are heading to get food all at once. In fact, that's all the way across the board. So 4 on shift 1, 4 on shift 2, 4 on shift 3, 3 on shift 4. So I think I'm going to just increase this to 4 for now, just to make sure that this is going to stay full with enough food that our duplicates can grab it. This stuff is going to go stale, but it should get eaten every cycle, so it won't go stale enough that we lose any of it, hopefully. We'll do the same with this one. I think I'll leave the barbecue where it is because we're going to be getting more of the rice loaf, and then we can adjust this once we start to get a higher stock. Once we have a backlog of barbecue, they're going to go for the barbecue first. And so if we get to the point where we have enough barbecue sustainably, we can adjust it. But for now, this way we won't have anybody who goes to get food and can't get it. And this will stay stocked. Like I said, it'll start to go bad because of the fact that it's sitting in a room that is not sterile. I could fix that and make this a carbon dioxide room, but I don't think it's necessary. We're going to be eating the food fast enough that it's not going to be an issue. The other thing we can see is if we look at our daily reports, under calorie generation, we want to see, let's go to a day that's closed. So yesterday, we harvested meal ice, we butchered meat, we harvested spindly grub fruit. That was the change in calorie. As far as removed, we had 600 calories of meal ice go rotten, and we had most of it get eaten. If we look at the day before, everything was eaten. The day before, everything was eaten. We don't have rotten food anymore. We have a little bit here and there, but that's just because we're finishing the system up. So in a few more cycles, we'll go and check. And what we'll want to see is that we don't have any more food spoiling. And that means it'll stay in here. And what we can also see is that if we get meat in here and we don't have enough time to cook it right away, it'll stay in this room where it is deep frozen the whole time, and then it'll get cooked as we can cook it, and then it'll get stored back in here as barbecue. So it doesn't matter if our duplicants are busy and they can't get to cooking it. As long as they can stay ahead of the food demand and everything stays in here, we can take all of our time to do it. We also, if we needed to in the future, we have enough space to put some more electric grills in and expand this. That's why I haven't finished out the room for the kitchen yet, because I'm not sure if we're going to need to do that. So we'll figure that out if we do. If we do that, we're going to have a heck of a time probably trying to get all these auto sweepers placed where we want them to, but that's just a matter of shifting things around. As far as the coolant loops, they seem to be working fine. This one hasn't been taxed yet because we haven't gotten the temperature up to the point where we need the cooling, but meal ice actually only needs to be 10 degrees, and we're well above that. I'd like to see it get up to the point where our thimble reed is working again, and we'll get there. We may have to dump some heat in here to get things warm, but with our power running, I still have the loop going through there. We should pick up some heat over time to do that. We could also, I guess, run it through here to pick up some of this heat, but I don't know that I want to mess around with that too much because this is a very condensed room of gas. And if I crack into this wrong, it will spill out into the whole base and be a mess, and we don't really want that. So for now, our loop is working, our food is secured, our deep freezer is working, and we don't have to worry so much about our duplicants over here, and we can head back over to our Bionic asteroid and start doing the work we want to get done here. The next episode, what I'd like to work on, I want to set up the infrastructure to take this oil, ship it over to the main asteroid, and we're going to have it would come out here, and then we can run a line down, and down here, we're going to set up a boiler system so that we can take the crude oil and turn it into a power source. Now, there's a couple things I want to do that I'm not sure, I haven't decided yet. I've done petroleum boilers in the past. I probably will do one the same. Well, maybe a different design, but I'm not quite sure, because the other thing I could do is I could use it to set up a system where we could do a sour gas boiler. And I'm a little hesitant to do that because I've never done one, but it could be a lot of fun. So in the comments, let me know what you think. If you think I should just stick with a petroleum boiler, if you think I should try to figure out a sour gas boiler and work out how to do that. Anyway, this episode has gone way over because it was a lot, but I wanted to get that deep freeze all in one episode. because it is an important part of the base, and it is really important to get it just right. Because if this fails, once you get it loaded up and you have lots of calories in it, it's not long before you lose all your calories very, very quickly. What unrefrigerated food? Oh, it's because of in here. The other thing I could do, and I probably will do this, is I can bring power in from this line and just power these fridges up, because that will at least give us some help with keeping them cool. And the other thing is these fridges, they work based on keeping the temperature where it needs to be. So since we're putting deep frozen food into them at very cold temperatures, they won't use nearly as much power to run. At least I think that's how they work. I've never actually done the testing. I've just read what people have said, so maybe we'll find out. Anyway, I could ramble on about this for a while, but let's call it here. And in the next episode, hopefully we'll be working on getting, making some use of that crude oil to get some power and more things set up on our Bionic asteroid. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.